Today we're in Hennessey, Oklahoma, right here by the post office, right on the main street. And it's kind of got an interesting story about who it was named after and some other interesting history. So we'll start out by checking out this really cool historic Main Street area downtown, and then we'll check out what the rest of Hennessey looks like.
Hennessey is in Kingfisher County, Oklahoma, which is located in the kind of north central part of the state. And Hennessey is in the northern part of Kingfisher County, which has a total population of 15,800 at the 2020 census. It's the second largest town in the county behind the county seat of Kingfisher. It's at the intersection of U.S. Highway 81 and State Highway 51, so that brings some of this traffic through town. Hennessey was born with the run into the unassigned lands of central Oklahoma. In pre-settlement years, various plains tribes traversed the region in their search for buffalo and other game. Hennessey's future site lay west of a government road and a stage route running southward from Kansas through the Cherokee Outlet to Fort Reno, and also near the Chisholm Trail, along which Texas ranchers herded millions of cattle northward in the 1880s. The town was named for Pat Hennessy, a freighter killed in 1874 along the road at a spot approximately 70 miles south of Caldwell, Kansas. Historians disagree concerning whether he died in a fight with Cheyenne or with White Horse thieves. The community has commemorated his demise in a memorial park, which I'll show later in this video. The settlement was laid out after the land run of April 22, 1889. A postal designation was made for Hennessey, which was spelled with one S and one less E, on July 20th, 1889, but in early October, the designation's spelling was restyled to the way it is now, Hennessey. The company placed the town on the anticipated route of the Chicago, Kansas, and Nebraska Railway line, under construction from Kansas through the Cherokee Outlet. The first train arrived in late September 1889. By 1890, there were a couple dozen establishments in the town. When the Cherokee Outlet opened in September 1893, a land office was placed just north of Hennessey and immediately south of the outlet. Serving the southern part of the outlet, the town boomed to an estimated 1,500 people by 1894. The town's location kept its economy viable despite a post-World War I agricultural depression. In addition, in the late 1930s, an oil boom in the Hennessey field created jobs and income. While other small towns withered in the Great Depression, Hennessey slowly grew. From 1950, agriculture remained vital, with wheat as the primary crop. New oil discoveries in the late 1950s boosted the population again. Conoco constructed a gas plant here, and more than a dozen oil field services operated from Hennessey in the 1990s. The growth of Enid to the north and Kingfisher to the south provide employment for commuters living in Hennessey. As you start looking at the population figures, it's pretty interesting because it was pretty large, like we talked about there at the beginning, as it grew and then went back down a little bit and then really shot up there around 1970 and has pretty much been the same since that point. This is the Pat Hennessy Memorial Park I mentioned earlier, and also has a marker about how Hennessy was the first rural mail route in the state of Oklahoma. So Hennessy was originally buried next to the location of his death in a shallow grave. Rocks were placed over his body, and teamsters passing by would continue to place markers on his grave. At some point in history, Hennessy's body was moved. It's possible his relatives came from Ireland and reclaimed his body. In any case, it is not the marker site here at the memorial. Excavations here produced no remains. So they have a headstone, but no Pat Hennessy.
Hennessy is definitely an interesting small town. It's obviously seeing the population figures has generally gone up over time, which is great. You know, got 2 highways that go through town, so that certainly helps keep its importance out here, which is, you know, most people look at as a pretty rural area, and done a nice job with their history. You know, I'm here in the Bullfoot Park, and they got a lot of stuff here. They have the nods to the Chisholm Trail, which would have passed through here, and Bullfoot was known for being a good watering hole for the people on the Chisholm Trail, named because there was an imprint that looked like a giant, I guess, bull's foot here. Love how they come up with some of those names, very creative. But yeah, I really enjoyed visiting Hennessy, and glad to see that it's still, you know, somewhat thriving, even as compared to 100 years ago. Well, it's been almost 5 years and it finally happened. My drone died. We had a little crash, although I think it just came apart while it was flying. I'll show you.
So there's the town of Hennessy, and you can see how it's kind of shaken, and then it does that. And I'm able to watch it on the device, and so I saw that was happening, so I start flying it back towards where I was located. I was kind of right in the middle of the screen. You can see a little black dot was my Jeep down there, down by some of those grain elevators. So I'm trying to fly it back, and you see it's wobbly. I have no idea what's going on. By the way, I've got a new drone since then, so any of the new videos you've been watching, that's why I still have drone footage. This is a video I shot a couple months ago. So I got it back over top of me, basically right there. So I didn't want to try to land it somewhere and crash into something. So it was right above me, and I'm trying to lower it down now. Still kind of all shaky, and I have no idea what's wrong with it. You can see kind of along the railroad tracks. I'm parked basically right under us. And then it steadies, and I'm like, huh, maybe it's not broken. So then look at the top right corner of the screen. You'll see that an arm or a leg or whatever broke. It comes tumbling down and lands on the railroad tracks. And then it landed right there in the railroad tracks. Pretty appropriate ending to the life of the drone. We're in Bullfoot Park here in Hennessy. A little bit muddy. Find a good place to get my footing. Large one. That's a real good solid death go round. Spins pretty well. Get a lot of people on there. Have a big old DGR party. We're gonna give it an 8.3.